Hello and welcome back. This is MC1 Gamers. So I saw Vince Ventrello's topic of the week, and I thought, I'd probably answer these questions quite a bit in my battle reports, talking about how I not only got into doing battle reports, but my history with the game. So this is one that I'm sure a lot of us have also reported on. But if you're interested in this topic, thank you for tuning in and watching till the end. Please feel free to share your experiences, and I'm glad to weigh in and join Vince on yet another interesting topic of the week. So first of all, I'm a huge consumer of content. I love watching videos. I do it while I do the hobby, while I'm painting, while I'm converting. But I have a lot of other things that I do, and while that's happening, I usually listen to stuff that's more not as much visual like a battle report, but audio, how-tos, commentary, reviews. I probably subscribe to about 150, 200 channels on YouTube. I have it running all the time, and I communicate with a lot of different types of content providers as well. I deal with all manner of topics, from comic books to movies to TV shows, things like Game of Thrones or anything comic book related or sci-fi or pop culture. Well, maybe not everything pop culture, but a lot of it is games, a lot of video game stuff, and a lot of wargaming, a lot of tabletop wargaming. So when I decided to get back into Warhammer after, maybe 18 years away, over 15 years, the memory fades first, guys. I searched for a ton of content creators on YouTube to see what's going on, what's the game like, what's the state of gaming, and I found a lot of the mainstays of Warhammer, of the Warhammer YouTubers. People like the Sustainable Center, who happens to be less than an hour away from me. He's about 35 minutes away from me, which is phenomenal. And I just watched a ton of his videos and found that there's a lot of similarities to our opinions too. Of course, the Godfather himself, Once Bitten, Mr. Malorian, watched a ton of his videos, watched all of those paint-episodes. But I found a lot of other people, Long Island Wargaming, their whole crew, which I found fascinating. These guys were, not too far away. I mean, I'm in Long Island all the time, so I'm sure it's been long overdue that I go reach out to Nick and, go out to his neck of the woods. He recently came out to us when Vince was in town. But I found some other great battle reporters that I think also deserve some note. But some of them don't really provide any content anymore, which is sad, because they were really good and they were very inspiring early on. People like Matthew Reeson. When I was looking to get back into vampire counts before Undead Legions came up with the End Times, I watched everything Matt put out and started communicating with him a little bit as well. And Matt, if you're watching, I don't know if you watch these things at all, start putting out more battle reports. I know that life gets in the way, but I'm a fan. Other people like Luke Davis, one of the best battle reporters that I've seen. I don't know what his subscriber base is. I don't know if it's anywhere near what Once Bitten is, who does fantastic battle reports. But Luke Davis, I think if there's ever somebody who was able to make a living doing this, who had the voice and the presentation, Luke Davis would be among the top of that tier. So others, that got me into it, Mini Wargaming, Beasts of War, Wargaming for Fun. So there's a lot of these places that have like a frontage on YouTube or on their websites that will provide free content, and they'll provide another layer behind that for paid content, and that pays for for the game materials, for the tech. I'd love to do something like that. That would be great. It'd be nice to be able to make a living doing it. But these guys came up early when it was a lot easier to do. There's so much going on now, and YouTube 10 years later is growing by leaps and bounds. But these guys were the early adopters in terms of starting up that kind of a business plan, and they're making a living doing it now, and I still watch their stuff, and I think it's fantastic. Some other ones that I thought were very interesting and innovative, like Materim, one of the few, if not the only, of the narrative type reports, which I found interesting, very niche. So I think that Materim and the boys have carved out a really nice specialty for a story-driven series of battle reports, which I find very entertaining. But I must say the real star there is you, Skip. Skip, I'm always rooting for you, man. The underdog. You are the star of that show. I know, Josh, you're probably not going to be happy hearing that, but I'm going to tell you right now, Skip is the star. Everybody's rooting for Skip because everybody roots for the underdog. All right. So anyway, just a shout out for Skip. Anyway, I used to watch Blue Table Painting too. I've kind of lost interest in that, but those are some of the things that got me into it. I did a lot of lurking before ever putting out any comments. And then I got into commenting and just, weighing in and discussing, asking lots of questions at first, and then putting out opinions, testing the waters. And then I just got the bug to start doing some battle reports. I got into the game, I got into some of the local scene, and really learned the game initially, getting back into it with 8th edition after so long being away, through YouTube, through battle reporters like you guys in the YouTube Warhammer YouTuber community. And one of the major ones, of course, was Ant from the Sustainable Center. Some great videos, some great commentary, some great rage videos, and how can I not mention, of course, Mr. Memorian 1,000 times. His Paint-A-Sodes, all those how-tos and stuff, just really entertaining, and just I think we've definitely lost a giant in our little community to Warmahordes by losing Mr. Malorian. So I don't know if he still watches this stuff, but a shout out to you, Mr. M. 9th edition's coming. Come back to the fold. But others that, like Lord Tremendous, I went and I asked a few people when I first wanted to do this, hey, what do you use? So these are really good questions, because this is what I did. So if you're watching this and you're not a battle reporter, or if you're looking to try to get into it, just expressing your opinions or putting out your own content, whatever that might be creative. Try to be different. I say that when I'm probably doing much of the same thing as a lot of people that are doing this. But try to put your own little exclamation point on it if you are doing it, so you don't just repeat what other people are doing. And I have something that I'll comment about what I think is a little bit different from me than for others. I have aspirations of what I like to do, and that's of course limited to time and money. And of course, as anybody will tell you who's done this, we're not doing this for money. We're doing it because we enjoy it. We want to share, and we want to communicate. We want to expand the community, and we want to be more involved in the community. And of course, there's all aspects of the hobby, and certain people have certain specialties and talents, but just having a voice and lending your voice to it, whether you're joining in a Paint-A-Sode and you never put out any content, or you're just commenting on videos, that just adds to the community. So I wanted to do that. If you're looking to do that, just know you're not going to be making much money, if anything at all. It's pennies, and it's a lot of time, and you really should just do it because you enjoy it. So I asked certain people, again, I asked Nick from Long Island War Gaming, hey, what kind of mic do you use? Lord Tremendous told me a little bit about some of the software stuff that's free, because I asked people, hey, what do you use? What software? Some people like Ant from the Sustainable Center said, I use PowerPoint. Lord Tremendous said, I use Windows Movie Maker, which is a freebie if you're using a Windows-based platform, so why buy something? And that's how I started doing it. So Nick told me about some of the mics that he uses, and I have a degree in radio and TV production. I should know about this stuff, but I went into obviously a different industry from what I did in school, so obviously I haven't kept up. But then I did I build my own computers, so I should know how to use these things. I just never really explored all the different software, and did a little checking, and within a couple of weeks I was putting out battle reports, and I haven't stopped since, and I'm probably not going to. I just have a lot of fun with it. So how do I make my battle reports? Well, like I said, I used to use Windows Movie Maker. It's again default. I use the default Windows sound recorder, and it's really simple. You just do a search for sound recorder if you're using Windows operating system, and you'll find it. It's very easy. You get a mic, you plug it in, you can just record the sound. If you're using the older version, if you're not using from the most latest Windows, like Windows 7 or 8, if you're using anything prior to that, it seems like the recorder is limited in terms of like a 2 or 5 minute cycle of recording. So you just know that you have to create a blank template that you're going to be using, do a little searching on Google to figure out how to do that. Otherwise, later versions allow you just to have an open-ended amount of recording on audio. If you're doing like a Hangout, doesn't matter. If you're doing something through your webcam like I'm doing, it doesn't matter. But if you're actually doing a battle report, it's really good to have sound separate from the video. I found that using PowerPoint, there seems to be a fade, and I still haven't figured out how to do it. And people have told me, and it doesn't. I just haven't figured out how to do it right. But there's a fade between the slides of your audio when you're recording it through PowerPoint, and I just prefer to do it separately and then merge them. You just got to get the timing right. So I've moved since I rebuilt my computer. My computer fried about a year ago. Maybe about a year. I'm not exactly sure. Again, memory's one of the first things to go. I'm on the verge of senility. And then when I rebuilt my system, it's more of an updated, more modern system. It's more of a gaming type rig. And I got a few new bells and whistles. I'm still using a Logitech webcam. Still using a cheap $25 mic from Best Buy. These are things I want to upgrade. But they're important things. I mean, the video you're probably seeing right now is probably a little grainy. You can see much better quality with a better camera, and that's something I'm looking to do to try and up the game a little bit, as well as getting a better mic. But you could start off with really simple stuff. The pictures I take are from my Samsung S5. I take video from it as well. Really good pictures. You just got to be cognizant of the lighting, especially if you're playing in a game store where there's windows and you're dealing with sunlight and contrast and stuff like that. Just check your lighting. One of the things that really is beyond sound is a major detractor if you're looking to get into this is having poor lighting. Either you have you're washing it out into too much light, or you're taking it from the wrong angle, or your flash. Sometimes available lighting is better than using a flash, because I find sometimes the flash will illuminate some things that are close, but in the distance everything then looks like it's dark, too dark. So you really have to see, if you're not in a studio situation, if it's a battle report, you got to just test it out. And it depends on your phone. And if you're not using your phone, something again that I'm looking to do, get a good camera, and digital recorder combo type thing where you can do both. And if you're setting stuff up to record video, think about a tripod. So sometimes that there's Steadicam type applications on your phones and on video cameras, but there's nothing worse than a shaky video. Anyway, so for pictures, look, how many pictures do I take? Next question in the topic. I take tons of pictures. Ann is always razzing me for how long my videos are and how many pictures I take. I do the same thing that I do when it's taking pictures of my son or events. I just take a million pictures because they're digital and you can delete them, and it doesn't make a difference how many pictures you take. It's how many pictures you keep. So I take typically between 100 and 150 pictures in a game. I try to do it as quickly as possible. I try not to interrupt the gameplay. I do my best to try not to make it, especially if it's a tournament type of a scene where it's not intrusive. I usually ask questions I ask first. Some of the etiquette is pretty similar to what you see other people will demonstrate that have expressed these points that I've learned. Some of them are just basic etiquette issues. Just be polite to the people you're playing if they're not comfortable with it. If they don't want to be on camera, just tell them, hey, I won't be shooting your face, don't worry. But just be polite. But I take tons of pictures because I would rather delete pictures that are just blurry or just repetitive or just don't express that particular action in the game than miss a really good picture for a really good moment and lose some of the pacing or something important that happened in the game. And I'll get to why that also is what I'm trying to do to try and kind of differentiate myself. Trying is the key word. Trying. I don't know if there's much succeeding going on, but that's up to you as the viewer. So I prefer watching lots and lots of pictures in my own in battle reports that I watch. So this is why I try to emulate this. I would prefer to see lots of different details throughout the game. Every roll of the die, every maneuver, the ideas behind the maneuver, the thought process behind the strategy that a player is taking, or that I'm taking, or that maybe my opponent is undertaking, rather than just see like a single slide and have a lot of conversation about that one slide. I think it's the same thing why you see like rapid cutting in film and TV. It draws your attention. It's more interesting, and there's a lot more detail in that narrative that you're creating. So that's something I like. But then that's a challenge, because then what you're doing is you're creating a scenario where you're going to have a lot of content, and it could be a longer battle report, which comes to the next thing, length. I watch a lot of battle reports. I mean, a lot of them are over 30 minutes, and I must say that, you know, the widely accepted time, the length of time for battle reports is typically around 30 minutes or under. And I know Ant's always telling me, you know, you got to shorten these. I'm sorry, I can't watch all your videos. I don't know if he watches any of them, but he makes that comment a lot. And he's right. You know, I mean, there's a preference that most people have, and I think that the 30-minute under thing is accurate. However, I watch a lot of videos, and there's a lot of popular battle reporters that have hour and a half, 2 hours. Sometimes they just set up a video camera and they tape their entire session, no editing at all, which I don't like that necessarily, unless they're good at it. The guys from like Wargaming for Fun, really good at doing that. They have a studio, multiple cameras. They have somebody that's, you know, editing it, cutting between the cameras. They overhead. They do multiple cameras on the screen at the same time. Excellent production job, of course. There are people paying them to do it too. They have people that are, you know, are paying them for that additional content that helps them put it out. That pays for the materials, the time, you know, the production quality. But I prefer, rather than have one slide that demonstrates an entire turn and talk about, you know, or half a turn, I'd rather have lots of them. So that's something that I prefer, and that's going to sometimes result in my reports being longer. And it's also something that I see in a lot of other battle reporters who do longer videos. People like Lord Tremendous is typically doing 45 minutes to an hour. It's, you know, no sweat, and he does really good reports. So it really depends on your preference and what you're interested in. I mean, I like the idea of multiple reports that I can bang out and watch back to back and get, you know, a real sense of the things that happen, especially tournament type stuff. Those are phenomenal for those really concise reports. I also like the more detailed reports, which is what I like to put out, and really talk about each move and give some commentary and thought about what could have been done, what you should have done, or what you're trying to do. And that's my concept. But I also, when I watch stuff, I like the longer videos too. Usually they're like how-tos, or you know, I'm assembling models, I'm painting, I'm putting together terrain. That's my latest thing. I'm often watching some of those longer reports for that. I'm watching paint-a-sodes. I'm watching, you know, some of the commentary stuff or opinions that people put out that could be like an hour long or 2 hours. I think there was one that Anthony put out that I think was like 5 or 6 hours. It was crazy, and I just watched that in snippets. Of course, I'm not really participating in them because I have my office where I am now, and that's where I do a lot of work. And then a lot of my other stuff is in the basement, which is where my big TV is, and, you know, I just don't have the tech down there to be able to record and whatnot, for me to be not record for the video to capture, so I can join a hangout or anything. So I'm in 2 different places doing 2 different things, and my desk setup, there's no painting being done here. This whole area is office, and, you know, multiple screens, and I just don't want anything painting going on in here. So that's the theory and the concept behind that. You know, I watch all the Wednesday evening shows, and that stuff in the background. You know, these. You know, even though I don't participate, you know, sometimes these long, you know, hour-long episodes or hour-and-a-half long episodes are perfect for when you're doing the hobby stuff. What I don't like is when you see those 2 hour, 2.5 hour long-winded bat reps that are not really bat reps. Someone just set up a camera and you hear every stupid comment and every ridiculous thing that's going on. And, you know, that they just edited it a little bit. You'd have a 30-minute or an hour-long battle report that'd be pretty cool. But that kind of stuff I stay away from, because that's not interesting. So where I fit, you know, I find that a lot of people want to be brief. They do a real fantastic job at doing that. So I want to try, and again, I stretch mine out to go in and analyze each of the different pictures and what's going on in those pictures. So if you've seen mine and you may think I'm a little bit long-winded myself, I understand. Some people have said that to me and made comments, including other battle reporters, hey, you might want to button this up a little bit. You probably get more views. You probably get more subscribers. I understand that. But, you know, I did a really long video, about an hour-long video, just recently, where I think I spent 30 minutes setting it up and this was historical. This was a bolt action that I had done. I did a game, a demo participation game at Historicon, which was in New Jersey recently. NJCon, which was historical based. And I spent probably 30 minutes talking about the scenarios and the worldwide D-Day campaign that this was part of, and setting up everything about the campaign. And then it was 30 minutes in before I even got to the first screen, the first picture of the actual battle report. And I thought, oh my God, this is way too much conversation versus the meat of what people are probably tuning in for. And I actually, when I shared it with the guys who were organizing it, they gave me feedback which is different than what I hear a lot of times about these 30-minute or under. He said that the commentary and laying out all the campaign stuff we thought was the best part of it. And I got commentary from other people that were historical fans. Maybe the historical war gamers are different from the fantasy war gamers and the sci-fi war gamers in terms of how quick and what their attention is. Maybe it's the age factor. Historical gamers tend to be a little bit older, but that it's just a different view. So I think it's good to make different content for different audiences and try to have some variety within it. That's what I'm looking to do. So I may be a little bit longer and try to go and spend a little bit more time on each of those pictures or slides. If that's something you want to do it. Just find a way to do something in your own voice and not mimic somebody else. Sometimes I actually watch some of my old videos and I sound like some of the other battle reporters that I watched early on. So the idea is to try to change that up. Use different terminology. Use a different method of taking pictures. I'm getting into recently taking the eye view of the actual characters or models. I like the idea of taking pictures of seeing it from that point of view on the table as if you're there. And one of the reasons why is because I've just recently got into historical and the gap between the waning of 8th and the upcoming of 9th. And I've gotten into terrain building in a big way, which is something you've probably seen with some of the recent videos. And frankly, I just want the table to look better. I like better trees, better roads, better mats, better hills. Sometimes I see battle reports and the terrain is very comic booky or very bare or very basic or kind of scary, crappy. And that's not a knock against the people putting it in because they might have limited resources. There might be limitations in terms of how much money they want to spend or they're able to spend. You spend enough on the models and the paints, then all of a sudden you're spending on that stuff. It can be limiting. And if you might not be lucky enough to be next to a game store where there's really good terrain. I'm fortunate enough that not only are there 3 game stores within a reasonable driving distance, they all have pretty good terrain. There's one doesn't have very good terrain, but that's one of the reasons why I'm making my own. I've got my own mats and stuff that I'm making up, and I'm making hedgerows and trees and all fences and stone fences and all kinds of stuff that I want to have my own stuff that I can put into a box and bring along with me and set up and make it look really good. So that really kind of enhances the battle report, because that's why I'm doing it. I want to have a nicer play area to when I'm playing the games. I want it to look more impressive. So if there's one thing that you can do to raise the game, do that. And as far as fantasy goes, I want to have I want to raise my bar in terms of the presentation, but I also want to raise the bar in terms of what's on the table. So that means having your own painted armies, which is a challenge for me also, but also having a good setting for you to take the shots in. The pictures. So some of the reporters of note that I'll just mention a few. There's so many. If I'm not mentioning you, please don't be insulted, even if you're even tuning in. But some of the notable 30-minute plus that have been successful. I mean, Lord Tremendous is one of the biggest ones that I'd say is of our group and does stuff like what we do. And he's on God knows he's got almost 300 videos now out, and I'm only on 125 or something like that. So he's been doing it obviously a lot longer than I am, and he's probably got 4 times my subscribers or more. I don't even know. I've never looked at the subscriber base, but his average I think is around 45 to 50 minutes, and I've never thought that was too much. He does a good job with it, and it's entertaining. I look at other sites like, again, the Mini War Gaming, Beasts of War. always an hour. Guerrilla Gaming, Ash. Love your stuff. I don't know if you're tuning in to see my stuff. You're probably too busy putting out your own, but he's starting his own business, or he has already. And the reports for fantasy are they're like an hour long, 50 minutes to an hour. Some of them are an hour and a half. And they're great, and he does a great job. He's got great presentation. War Gaming for Fun, these guys out of the UK, just like with the Beast of War guys, phenomenal. And then I watch other guys like the Terrain Tutor. He has guests from all over the world, U.S. and Europe, but he's out of the UK, and it's all about terrain and how-tos and cool materials, and I love putting that stuff on while I'm doing stuff as well. And then I can't mention this without mentioning Reef. Reef, I know you don't want us to be subscribers, but we love you. You may not want it. Keep putting those bird watching videos up. I have them on sometimes when I'm painting those high volume, not high volume, high quantity units like zombies and skeletons. Man, you just need some kind of content sometimes that you don't want to. You look up every once in a while and see the kind of things that you're pointing out. But it's very good to concentrate on when you're just having something in the background, unless you put on music. I mean, some people prefer that. For some of the people that really button up and really have a concise video, 30 minutes or under, king of it, in my opinion, is the Sustainable Center. He's always looking to make it as concise as possible, and he seems to find a way to include really good analysis, but by being brief. People like Luke Davis. He does not put out any more videos, man. If anybody knows Luke Davis, reach out to him. Tell him to come back to the fold. Unfortunately, he doesn't put out much content. Life does get in the way. Just like Once Bitten is, he's kind of slowed down a little bit on some of the stuff that he's putting out, except for fairly recently. But it's Once Bitten. Again, The Godfather. So Once Bitten, phenomenal stuff. He never seems to have a long video. They're usually 20 minutes to 30 minutes at most, and they're always fantastic quality. Others that I like, Skaven AZ. Great quality videos, really good, concise, good, quick, getting to the point. Doesn't waste any time, and just really good battle reports. Good stuff to watch. I just wish he would do more stuff that's not Skaven. Not that no knock against Skaven. It's just that it's nice to get something a little different. Whenever you put out, like for instance, Vampire Counts, I was always an interest because it's not another Skaven army. Because you put out so much Skaven content, so after a while I want to see something different, and I know that's asking a lot. So because you're Skaven and AZ. In any case, others that I like that are also quick and concise. Andy 2Die6, he's out of the UK. Guy I think he's out of Boston, Black Schism. Also seems to have fallen off the map. Put out very entertaining and very interesting analysis videos, but found a way to do it and be very concise. Vidhammer was putting out those videos that would just be, rapid fire, fast speed, so fast forward, and he would do his audio over it. The only thing I didn't like was that the angle was not such that you couldn't see a good portion of the battlefield. You only need like an overhead for something like that. But he moved, and I guess sadly there's not a lot of players where he is, so he kind of dropped off the map also. But I also like a lot of the review types and the painting channels. So, for instance, like Model Dads for historical, fantastic stuff when it comes to historical. Also for just painting in general, Dr. Faust, By Painted. There's so many. I have a couple that I've listed. I'm sure I'm going to leave out. There's tons that you would recommend. Please, feel free to weigh in if you know of a good. I'm always looking for more content and more stuff that in the stream of content that I can subscribe to. Believe me, I'd be happy to and more than happy to have people recommend really good sites for my own consumption. Now, what I've learned. Next topic. The thing I've learned the most when it comes to when it comes to doing these battle reports is buttoning up on the rules. Which we're all going to be starting over again with the new edition. There's a lot of rules that people will point out. It's one of the things that sometimes when I do a video I say, hey, I wasn't really sure about this. Let me know what you think. Let me know, give me your point of view. Sometimes people interject their point of view and they're wrong, and they don't like to be told they're wrong. me included. But that's just the way it is. We're having a dialogue, and hobefully we can keep it cordial. But one of the things I've learned the most is how people from all over the world have similar interests, different types of talents from different parts of the hobby that really inspired me on how to play, how to paint, how to convert better, and most recently, just improve the quality of the play area, the terrain. I'd say that historical is the biggest inspiration for that. More than anything else, historical has helped me with that, because when you look at some of the tables they put up, they're trying to make this look realistic. When we're playing fantasy, sometimes it's just it could be a piece of felt. Hey, that's the forest. It could be a blue piece of felt instead of green, and that's a lake. Those are simple, easy, and really good ideas for cheap ways of putting stuff on the table. But the historical guys go crazy there. They just go to the nth mile. I mean, they raid the HO train stores, which is just something I've started to do myself. Getting right down to telephone poles and mailboxes and crazy. Just nobody beats the train guys for making stuff look realistic. And the historical gamers are the ones who just draw from all those materials. Things like Woodland Scenics and Notch, and just Woodland Scenics is probably the most well known. In any case, that's the kind of stuff that I think I've learned the most, is how to improve the game, how to paint better. If anybody knows any of my history, when I was doing this stuff back in the 80s, I just did one coat and filled in the metal pieces and different colors, and boy did I put on way too much paint. And now I wouldn't say I'm by any stretch of the imagination a great painter, but I'm more competent. I understand the concepts of washes and highlighting and blending, and I put them into practice, and I think I do a decent job if I could ever complete an entire army. But hey, I'm only a couple years back into the hobby, and we'll see what happens with my son also joining the hobby fairly soon, and hopefully learning some of his dad's trade and a little bit of the obsession. In any case, that's it. A great topic of the week, some really good stuff, and a whole lot of questions to cover. And thanks, Vince, for continuing to inspire everybody to bring out and produce more content for the community. And thank you to everybody else who puts out that content as well, or even just joins in the conversation, which is equally as valuable. Keep that conversation going, and feedback is always a positive thing, and just the whole dialogue, so that that not only do we grow the hobby and the community, but we improve it. So there you have it. Have a great day, everybody, and till next time.